Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Divine Feminine Oracles. So tonight we have a very special guest, and I saw some comments over here in the chat. Wonder who the special guest will be, and it's a very special guest because since we're approaching the Libra eclipse in just 4 days, and we are in Libra season right now, I thought it could be a good occasion to talk about soulmates, twin flames, relationship, karmic partners. And we have a very special couple with us tonight. So first, I'll start by introducing Meg, my usual co-host. Hi, Meg. How are you doing?
I'm good. The energies are very intense, as I'm sure a lot of us are feeling, and I'm sure we'll get into, but I'm doing good overall. How are you doing?
Very good as well. But also, yes, I totally resonate with that. The energies are quite intense at the moment. I feel like it's a crescendo of intensity, and but also a lot of positive changes I feel are all around. So very excited about that. And welcome Jans. So Jans is Meg's fiance that I got the chance to meet in Arizona when we were traveling with the crew. Hi Jans. First of all, welcome to the Divine Feminine Oracle Show, and let us know how you're doing with the energies right now.
Yeah, hi Julie and everybody. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I'm honored to be on a Divine Feminine show, so that's pretty cool. I'm doing well. It's like you say, it's intense energies. Like I've awoken tonight. I couldn't get to sleep, and I had like really crazy dreams. So yeah, there's definitely something going on in the collective, also, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And like we were just talking before coming on the live, and I feel like a lot of people got trouble to sleep last night. Like I could barely fall asleep. I think I fell asleep maybe at like 3 or 4 a.m., tossing and turning all night, weird dreams. And I know you guys also felt it too. Like I think Maggie said like you barely slept or you woke up very early, right? And this is what
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah, I woke up really early. That's right. I am not an early riser. Jens knows that. So it takes a lot for me to wake up early. And I was up and at him at like 4 in the morning and couldn't get back to sleep. So very unusual for me.
Yeah, and I know Janine also couldn't sleep, so she had to cancel her show for today. I think it was the case also with JC. So let us know in the chat if you had trouble to sleep last night, and maybe we can pull some cards on what are the crazy energies out there. Oh, you already did. Great. So someone just mentioned before I move, yes, Jan's book is going to be awesome. Yes, we'll talk about that in just a second. I'll start the comment. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, so as you were talking, just pulled a few cards on what the heck is going on with our sleeps. A lot of us having disruptful sleep, and look at what the first card is.
Okay.
Mars. So the war kind of energy, the action, the disruption, the conflict. I'm picking up on that's going on in our collective unconscious that a lot of us can be picking up on. And the Libra card. So also, I think having to do with the new moon eclipse that we're just 4 days away from now. So it's a mix of that conflict, war energy that really escalated, I think, on the world stage this past weekend, plus the eclipse coming up. So yeah, some people may be feeling more tired than usual, and others will be maybe more energized or harder to sleep. So big energies right now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat that are saying, yes, up at 3:30. I only got about 3 hours of sleep, I'm guessing. So a lot of people, and I did not sleep until 4. So I don't know what was happening around 3 or 4 a.m., but a lot of people woke up earlier than usual, I feel. And it's interesting that you got the card Mars in Libra, because Mars is in Libra right now. And and it's conjunct the south node, and the sun is almost conjuncting the south node and Mars at the moment. So there's a big stellium of energies in Libra, but also coming up a lot about past life stuff with the south node. So wow, okay. And a lot of people got also the feeling that we were doing a lot of work at night. So maybe also trying to, I don't know if we're fixing the grid or being spiritual warriors at night, but I feel like it's another theme that's coming up, maybe with your Mars card also.
Yeah, this is really wild. Like in the Rumble and in the YouTubes, everyone is saying they've been waking up early and not having a good sleep. So that's pretty crazy. We're all feeling that.
Wow. Okay. Very intense. So, okay. And since we got also the relationship card, I feel like it's very, like it's a good start to our conversation for tonight. So I thought we could have a conversation because I know there's a lot of, let's say, interest in this spiritual community about soulmates, twin flames, karmic partners. And I know there's a lot of definitions, and different people have different definitions for those terms. So I think it's important also to maybe talk about what do we consider being a twin flame, what do we consider being a karmic partner, because a lot of relationships are going to come on the forefront of our consciousness right now, since the eclipse is in Libra, the sun is in Libra, and there's a south node there that's going to conjunct the eclipse. So past lives, karma, karmic contracts coming up. So we're all going to talk about that in just a few seconds. But before we do so, let me just present the pyramid we have for tonight's show. Let me just share my screen. And this is a beauty that's created by Carla, of course, by Carla at Ascension Orgonites. And this one is Ethan. So let's listen to what Carla has to say.
Hey guys, this is Carla from Ascension Orgonites. Hope you're doing great. Today I have Ethan. It is the latest addition to the Divine Masculine series. It is made of tiger's eye, garnet crystal, brass metals, and the seed of life in gold. So Ethan is made to be a piece for giving a boost of energy, positive thoughts, inspiration, success, love, romance, all coming from a divine masculine perspective. So I'll give it a quick turnaround so you can see it. And there's Ethan. Hope you guys like it, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, Carla. And I love the theme for this pyramid because we didn't even talk about what was going to be the theme for tonight's show. So love in the divine masculine's point of view. I love that. And that's why we have Jans with us tonight. So I'm very excited about that. And also we're going to have one candle for also one of you lucky supporters in the chat. And this candle for tonight is going to be the love candle that's handmade by the beautiful Elena. That's available on MaisonJupiter.com. And if you go either on AscensionOrgonites.com or MaisonJupiter.com to purchase some pyramids or candles, please use Beyond Mystic in one word to get 10% off your next order. So that's what we have for you tonight. And also, of course, if you are watching from YouTube, either the Maison Jupiter channel or the Beyond Mystic, please don't forget to give us a like. It really helps us over here to produce some content. And if you are also watching on the Rumble channel, please also give us a like over there, and also a rant if you want. And we'll also make sure to give away this pyramid and candle for one of you lucky supporters on all the platforms. Okay, so let's begin this conversation. I was very excited to talk about this with Jans because, Jans, I know you've been spiritually awakened for quite a long time. You've read a lot. I know you've come across a lot of spiritual material and teachers in the community. I'd like to know, do you believe in twin flames, and what's your take on that to begin with?
Well, I was talking with Meg about it today as preparation a little bit for the show today. And honestly, I think like twin flames, it depends on how you define it. Like, you know, some people define a twin flame as like a soulmate, like a person with which you have a really great connection. But that extra special person, like that extra special soulmate, and they define a twin flame as that. But in my opinion, like when, you know, most literature talks about twin flames, it actually means a soul that is split over two persons. So it actually, and then we were going to go into the semantics of what is a soul and what is a higher self. So I think for me, a twin flame is a person that actually, or like two persons that actually have the same higher self. And in my opinion, that of course that's a twin flame is a soulmate relationship in a way, because it's very bonding, it's very strong, but in my opinion it's very, very rare. I think most relationships are soulmate relationships, and they can be of a very type like karmic relationships. We can get into that as we go along, but I think in my opinion, to start us off, it's very, very rare. That's kind of a belief I have, and I haven't seen it like mentioned a lot. Like, it's not that it comes up like it's a hot item, because it's very romanticized in the New Age especially, and it comes up a lot, but I think it's a lot less common than in the proportion to which it is romanticized. And there's a few instances in literature I know of when they talk about twin flames. Maybe I can mention that in passing. But honestly, I think it's very rare. I think most relationship through which the soul grows is when two soulmates, who have a different higher self, who are their own soul, get into relationship with each other.
Wow, that's really interesting. And do you believe that you said, like, in your opinion, twin flames can happen, but are very rare in our current reality? Do you think there are some that are non-romantic at the moment, incarnated now?
I think it's definitely it exists. I think, for example, some twins, like physical twins, can be twin flames, I think. Like, and I mentioned in literature, there's for example, Robert Monroe. He was one of a lot of people watching know him, because I know on Beyond Mystic he's mentioned also quite a few times. So he was like an explorer, an out-of-body explorer, an explorer of consciousness, and he went outside of his body, in his astral body and his causal body. And at a certain point, I think it's in the second or third book, he even goes further than his regular astral experiences, and he starts exploring also his own soul and his own higher self. And at a certain point, one of his I can't remember exactly, one of his guides, which is actually part of his oversoul or his higher consciousness, says to him he has a parallel incarnation, a twin flame actually, in Russia, and that his higher self actually did it to because it had like a mission, and it wanted the mission to succeed, so it split itself off in like two parallel incarnations at the same time in physical reality. And then he asks, I'm probably never going to meet that person. I don't even know who it is. And what would it feel like? He asks his higher consciousness if I would meet that person. And they say it would feel like you met a long lost brother or sister. So yeah, there's been mentioning of twin flames, but in my opinion, instances are like that are really, really, really rare. I don't think it's very, very common, at least not in the way the New Age or the mainstream New Age wants us to believe.
Jill on the screen just said Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. Do you believe they existed first, and do you believe they were twin flames? I'm getting into very deep questions, I know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, well, obviously, I believe that Jesus or Jeshua was definitely an incarnated being, like like an innovator, like they say, like the Buddha, like a being of real high consciousness with a real specific mission, and a real big impact on human consciousness just by incarnating on Earth. And Mary Magdalene may be the divine feminine aspect of that. So I don't know if they're twin flames. I think I feel like their presence and their influence is so huge that you cannot even call it twin flames anymore. It's more about bigger energies of human consciousness and of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So I don't think we can speak of twin flames here. I think it's something even bigger is going on there, energetically.
Like I resonate with what you said, and I heard also people say that they were like a gathering of many. How can I say that? Like, not many consciousnesses, but something like not one single soul, but a collective energy or a collective soul. Each one.
That's more how I feel about it too. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Yaz. And I love having your point of view on all of these subjects that we usually discuss in between Divine Feminine. So thank you for being here. Meg, okay, I'd like first of all to ask you the same question. Do you believe in twin flames, and what's your take on that?
So yes, I do believe in twin flames. I do feel like, though, in the New Age, our spiritual community, it's something that some people can get addicted to, actually, and really hold on to. Like, that's the most important thing in this lifetime, is to be reunited with the twin flame. But I do agree that it's actually a pretty rare thing. I could be wrong about this. I'm not an expert on twin flames, of course. But I feel like it's something that's quite rare, and people have to be at a very certain level of frequency and consciousness to even be able to attract this twin flame.
Yeah.
Because from the teachings that I've received, it's very much about becoming enlightened when you meet the twin flame. And it's very forced evolution and transformation, and is going to be really intense and like a catalyst for going into your higher self, really uniting back into your full self. So I think it's something that maybe we're going to see more of in the times that we're in now, but I don't think it's been common up until this point. And there's a really great fellow astrologer of ours called Jewel, who has sorry, the cat is going crazy over here. Her name's Jewel, and she has a YouTube channel called Truth in Aspect Astrology that I really highly recommend checking out. She's a really cool astrologer called Jewel, Truth in Aspect Astrology. And she made this video and talks sometimes about twin flames. Are they real? And she compares a lot of twin flame relationships, so-called twin flame relationships that she hears about with her clients, are actually what she calls plutonic relationships. So Pluto being the planet of intensity and death and crisis and even chaos and its shadow aspect, that some people think they're in a twin flame relationship when actually they're in a kind of chaotic, sometimes even toxic or addictive karmic relationship that's playing out. So I think it's really important to, as we're talking about in today's live show, which I think it's really important we are, differentiating between what is a real twin flame relationship, karmic relationship, soulmate, because it's easy to get confused by them when, you know, twin flames, I think, are actually really rare. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it doesn't mean that you're not an old soul if you're not going to have a twin flame relationship in this lifetime.
Yeah, because we could also argue that finding a soulmate can be also a very strong trigger for soul's evolution. So it doesn't mean to be a twin flame. You can meet another soul or someone from another higher self and still do a lot of healing work with that individual. Okay, Meg, so more of an astrology question for you. Today we're having, I don't know if I can show my chart. Let me just try to show right here. So today we're having a lot of indications that relationships are very much coming into the forefront of our awareness. So first of all, the sun is in Libra because it's Libra season, and it's approaching the South Node, which is past lives, karma, and Mars, which is the divine masculine, which we have on our show tonight. So very happy about that. But also we're having an opposition, very exact, between Venus, the planet of love, and Saturn, kind of the reality check also. So my question was surrounding more this aspect, and we've got also the moon today that is conjuncting the Venus. So our attention is very Venusian, I think, today. So do you think that this opposition of Venus and Saturn, which we're also going to have during the eclipse in 4 days on October 14, do you think it's kind of a reality check that that allows us to see which relationships are, let's say, aligned with us, what relationships are not, and maybe people that thought they were in a twin flame relationships might have another take on it? What do you feel about the eclipse and this opposition of Venus and Saturn?
So this may be one of the only times that anyone hears me say this, but I'm actually really happy that we're having a Venus opposite Saturn right now. And I'm actually really happy that we have Venus in Virgo, which I don't think is a bad thing, but Venus is in its fall position in Virgo. So, you know, Venus, our love and our values, that's what it rules in astrology, in the sign of Virgo is criticism and judgment and paying attention to the details and setting our standards higher, in opposition to Granddaddy Saturn, which is like the truth of what's really going on. And like you said, Julie, reality checks. So I think this is amazing for anyone that is confused about relationships or is in a little bit of a la la land toxic relationship, because it's really coming up to the forefront today during the eclipse, and even for the whole next 6 months, because eclipses can have an effect actually for 6 months to a year after they actually happen, of really, we're going to be paying attention to the details with this Venus in Virgo opposite Saturn of what's really going on in our love relationships, our business relationships, and all committed relationships for that matter. So I'm actually really happy about it, because sometimes we need to look at something that's kind of uncomfortable or something we don't want to see, to be able to see that it's maybe not in alignment, or there's something to be worked on in a relationship if it is in alignment.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So just because we're having a Libra eclipse doesn't mean everybody's going to break up and we're all going to meet a new soulmate. No, it's if you're not in a relationship that's in alignment for your highest good, then there's very likely to be breakups during this eclipse season in the next 6 months.
And I love what you're saying also, because Saturn in relationship wise is not necessarily negative. It is exalted in the sign of Libra because it loves long lasting commitment and relationships. So having this Venus opposite Saturn, I think, can bring a lot of also focus on the long term. So what do we need to make this work long term? Do we have the same perspective for the future? Where do we see ourselves? So I think that could be good if, let's say, there could be some positive changes made if you are, let's say, in a relationship that's aligned with you.
Mm-hmm. Can we just say, Julie, that's a really good point that you just made, is that's one of the ways we can actually consciously work with this eclipse in Libra, is having those Saturnian, Venus and Virgo critical conversations with our committed partners about what do we want? Saturn, where do we actually want to be in 5 years? Not what you think I want to hear you say about where you want to be in 5 years, but where do you actually want to be in 5 years? This is where I want to be, you know, kind of goal setting, talking about the values and where you really stand in relationship. I think that would be a really good way to work with it, because Libra is an air sign and can help move through the energy through communication.
And yeah, it's going to help dissolve the, let's say, the illusions of Pisces, because Saturn in Pisces brings a more down to earth kind of influence to Pisces.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. And if I may ask a personal question about you guys,
Yes.
because I'm seeing, like, having met the both of you, like, I see that like your mission, what you consider being your individual mission, really mesh together, but also I think your vision for the long term. So when did you know, like, that could work, let's say, more than just a fling, the two of you? And was it like a defining factor for you in, let's say, you both are laughing.
It's a bit of a story.
It's a bit of a story. Only if you want to get into it.
I would say it was pretty obvious from the start that, you know, that we were committed, you know, because, and you know, that sounds weird, because when you just met, but we were actually also forced to stay committed, because, you know, it's a whole story, but I'm going to keep it short. But we got together just before the COVID happened. And so we actually were forcibly separated, because I live in Belgium and Meg lived in Canada back then. And we were separated for like 5.5 months. So, and we had all the time we could get before Corona, because it wasn't that easy, because there's an ocean separating us at 6,000 kilometers. So it's not like we were together like every day in our our honeymoon phase, so to speak. So and then we really got separated for 5.5 months. So we really had to be committed, and that was a test in and of itself, because if you're not serious about it, and the person is on the other side of the ocean, and you're not seeing each other for 5 months, it's I never felt it was a challenge, because I never had any doubt. So for me, there was not any doubt from the beginning. I just knew this was a very special person for which I wanted to wait. There wasn't even no question in my mind. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Did you meet during a Venus opposition to Saturn? Because I feel like it's a lot of, let's say, obstacles you guys had to overcome in order to be together. Would you agree with that?
That's interesting. I have to look at the charts, because I know the days that we did meet the first 2 times. So maybe there was something like that going on, or maybe we have something like that in our composite or synastry charts or something. But yeah, Jens and I first met on a group starseed trip in Egypt, which sounds very exotic. And Jens is like 5 planets in Sagittarius. He's a Sagittarius, and I have my North Node in Sagittarius and Venus in Sagittarius. So of course we were going to meet our soulmates that are from foreign countries in a foreign land.
Yeah.
And it wasn't on that trip we got together. We got together on another spiritual trip that I co-hosted with one of my shamanic mentors in England. And that's where we hooked up. I'll just say it like it is. And after we hooked up that first night we were together, it was like very strange, Julie and everyone, because like Jens said, we just knew, we knew we were going to be together. Even though logically it didn't even make sense. There's an ocean separating us. I have to go back to Canada for 2 months. How's this going to work? We just knew it just felt completely natural, as weird as it sounds. So yeah, that's kind of our experience.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't have any doubts.
Yeah, even friends of me were saying, like, because there was an ocean separating us. They were saying, yeah, they were being honest to me. They were saying, Jens, how is this going to work? Mick has a job, you have a job. How is this going to work? And I just ignored him because I knew in my heart, it was going to work. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you supporting Meg to be like the best version of herself and going towards like her life mission path was like definitely like a big highlight of your relationship. And now it's kind of the opposite too, because Jens, you're kind of in a, let's say, professional transition, or maybe it's coming. So Meg is there supporting you to also be the best version of yourself and being on your path. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. We support each other, and I've I think that's a sign of a real strong soulmate relationship is when it has a really big impact on your life. And for me, when we got together, it had a really big impact on my life. A lot of things really changed. A lot of new perspectives came on. I think for Meg it was the same, because she had to, she also, changed her life totally. She moved from Canada to Belgium. She didn't know anybody here, so that was also a tough time for her. She couldn't go back to Canada because of the COVID restrictions that were in place, so she couldn't see her family, which was all, very intense. So yeah, it had a big impact on both of our lives, and we kind of supported each other throughout it.
I love it. And I also forgot to bring up at first that you have social media, because you're also, you are a truther. You are being very vocal about what's going on in the world. And can we say like red pilling stuff, but also spirituality? Can you let us know what you're sharing on your social media, Jens?
Yes, I'm into conspiracy and of course spirituality, and I like to weave the two together and to get a kind of a metaphysical overview. So just not the physical side of it, but also about consciousness. About how they try to control consciousness also, but ultimately that's what it is. Although we're not going to go into this this subject. But yeah, it's like weaving together all these subjects and presenting like a holistic overview of what's happening in the world, also on metaphysical and spiritual levels.
I love it. And so if you'd like to know more about that, I know Jans, you post a lot of on your Facebook. So that's how you'll find Jans. And also Instagram. So same name. You can find him here also. Like he's posting a lot of videos and articles about stuff that is going on in the world that really aligns with what we're talking about right here. So if you'd like to follow Jans, and also I saw a comment earlier, I'll try to find it. Yes, Jan's book is going to be awesome. So let us know about where is the process of your book. I know you published, I think, the Dutch version of your book already, and the English is coming, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yes, yes. The Dutch. Actually just received the finished Dutch version this evening, so it's going to the printer soon. So the Dutch book will be out soon, and the English book will also definitely come out, and that will be a little bit later, perhaps a few weeks, maybe 2 months. I have to see, the time period on that, but it's definitely coming out in English too, and I'm very excited about it. It's my first book, of course. And I'm excited that it also comes out in Dutch and also in English because a lot of people at Meg knows speak English. So I'm excited also to not keep it Dutch and also do reach a bigger audience because I think it's important to weave the conspiracy and the spirituality together. In earlier times, this was kind of more separated. And I feel it's important to, as a spiritual person, also have a decent knowledge about conspiracies and be street smart in these times. I think that's very important.
Yeah, and I feel like you're weaving the spiritual with, let's say, the political stuff and everything that's going on in the world, as you call them, conspiracy. But we all know that conspiracies tend to be true 99% of the time. So I love that. And so just let us know really quickly, what is your book about? Do you have like let's say a general theme? Do you get in depth with different subjects? What is it about?
It's like it's about a lot of different subjects, but there's a whole thread throughout. It's kind of holistic. So, for example, I'm doing a big subject about scientism, how science is used as a religion. I'm doing a little bit about the power structure on Earth and the elites behind it, really showing the physical evidence and the proof, because there's a lot of proof that there is an elite who organizes things from behind the scenes. And I think that it's important because that gives the book its kind of grounding. So it's not only spiritual, it really has the grounding. That's what I start with, is the power structure on Earth. And from there I go, for example, into the corona crisis, eugenics, because eugenics is actually the precursor to transhumanism. I really go in depth into that in my book. Then into transhumanism, of course, which will become even a more hot topic in the coming years, like we see with Musk and his brain chips and stuff. So it's actually also a warning for people not to go into transhumanism. I take a philosophical and spiritual view also of transhumanism, and how transhumanists are actually kind of like materialists who are afraid of their own soul in a way, because they want to become immortal through physical means by transhumanism. Anyway, I go into depth into that, and then in the end of the book, I go more into the spiritual subjects of consciousness, good and evil, what's happening in the world on the metaphysical level.
Wow, I can't wait to read the English version of this book. I know I still have to get on it, but I can't wait to read about it all. Thank you so much, Jans, for that.
Thank you.
Sorry, Julie, someone in the comments, Cosmic Fairy Witch, says, what is the title of your book, Jans?
It's called A World in Transition.
Great title. I love it. It encompasses everything that you kind of told us about.
Yeah. And if I could just say,
yeah,
Julie, that I've been telling Jans, this is a book that is not only going to be great for us that are aware of what's going on in the world, but it's a book that we'll be able to hand over to other people as like kind of a guidebook of here's what's been going on. Here's the power structure that's been in place. It's really like a handbook for normies or, people that are not awake yet, to help them facts with proof of what's been going on, the whole power structure, as Jans said, lots of different topics. So I'm really excited for not only in our community, this book, but how it's going to be able to help other people to wake up as well and support them.
Definitely. And we know that we're going to need those proofs and books and people that take the time to bring all those proofs together for all the people that are still waking up, because there's a lot of those, I think. Okay, getting back to the relationship stuff. So we've been talking about a little bit about the importance of, let's say, awakening by knowing about what's going on in the world, such as what you're describing in your book, Jans, and like we call it here, the red pilling stuff in this community. So we know it's one part of the awakening. The other one is kind of an internal process that you're doing internally with a lot of healing and, let's say, discovering different facets of yourself. So I'd like to ask both of you, but I'll start with you, Jans. How important do you think is the internal work as it regards to finding your partner, your soulmate, or let's say your long-term partner in this incarnation?
Yeah, it's cool that you asked that question, because I actually wanted to talk about it.
Cool.
It's very, very important. I think it's like one of the most important things you can do. If you can be on Tinder, so to speak, but if you don't do the inner work, you're not going to be in the optimal situation to manifest your soulmate. Like if you want that long-term partner, if you want a stable relationship where you can grow together, is you really need to do your own homework, actually, for your own spirituality and your own emotions. And we have a saying in Dutch. It's called to get your sheep on the dry dock. It means like taking care of your emotions and taking care of your own stuff. And I think that is so important, because to heal your traumas, to heal your wounds, because as long as your wounds are unhealed and the more subconscious they are, the more that will manifest in your relationship, and you might be more, attract more karmic relationships to work out certain things also within yourself and with another person. So for me, the inner work is of the utmost importance. For me personally, I had a phase where I had no relationship for 3 years. And, during that 3 years, I was like, man, it's been a while. But, now in hindsight, I realized it was really important for me. And I had a lot of time, I was alone in my apartment, and I had a lot of time to really go deep into my own process, to work on myself. And that's of the, for me, of the utmost support. The best dating advice you can give somebody is actually, work on your own stuff. Of course, you need to get out there and put yourself out there at a certain point if you want to attract a relationship. That's part of it too. But the inner work is definitely, the engine that drives it. And then when you go out, is you push the pedal and you go out with a running engine, so to speak.
I love the analogy. I have a question also for you, Jans, and I totally resonate with what you just shared. There's a lot of people, let's say, on social media talking about being relationship experts. A lot of them say, well, some of them say that you got to do the inner work before meeting, let's say, an important soulmate in your life. Other people state that you're going to do this work, the healing work, with your partner, being in a relationship with your partner. So which one is it for you? Is it more like before? Is it while you're with your partner? What do you think?
I think it's both. I think it's also very personal, of course. Some people may have more trauma than others, and some people may need more inner work, especially like people who had like sexual abuse, for example. They may need more inner work for to open up in a relationship. It's very personal, but I think it's both, because it doesn't stop when you're in a relationship. You keep on. That's my creed, is you keep on working on yourself. And a relationship sometimes can be challenging, in especially in a long-term intimate relationship. Is you are naked to the other person, so to speak. Your innermost vulnerabilities come up. And the thing is, also not to hide them, because if you hide it from the other person, it means you're not ready to heal them. So yeah, it's for me, it's different when you're in a relationship, because then it's not only yourself anymore. You work on yourself while there is somebody else whom you share a very intimate connection with if you live together. But it just, and you might get triggered by your partner sometimes, and that's then an exercise not to lash out at your partner and then seeing the trauma in you, which is very hard to do when you're in a really intense situation. For example, it's hard for everybody. But yeah, just for me, it's very important to do it before, but also to keep on doing it when you're in a relationship.
Great question, Jans. You always have the best answers. And hi to Kristen and Ben. I saw some comments on the screen. So thank you for being here. And I know you guys have a live tonight at 10 p.m. So don't forget to go watch Mystical Universe. That's going to be on the Rumble channel later on. Okay, Meg. And thank you so much, Nicole, for that generous donation. Meg. Okay. Being a Scorpio, right? Beautiful Scorpio. How did it go for you? Like, did you feel like you had to do a lot of healing prior to meeting Jans in order for you to be able to like share a lot of let's say some of your healing journey with him? Like, how do you feel about that?
Well, I was thinking about it while Jens was speaking so eloquently, and I was thinking about how Jens, compared to me, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, he does have a Pisces rising, so he's very like sometimes guarded about sharing personal stuff. But I will say that he does way more healing work like on a daily basis than I do. Jens like meditates every day and does self-love every day and all these practices. And I don't know about any other Scorpios out there. I love doing meditation and stuff like that. But being a Scorpio, I found it's been more the actual living experience of having to go through. And I know everybody has their traumas and challenges in life, but it's like I've healed through the actual act of going through the traumas and then having to feel the emotions in that moment, if that makes sense. Rather than, okay, now I'm going to do a ceremony where I'm letting go of, this emotion. It's like in the moments where it's happening, really being in it. And it's interesting because Jens is the first healthy relationship that I've ever had, which is kind of weird because we're engaged and we have this beautiful relationship. But up until Jens, I had very weird relationships to the point where one of them, like I have a restraining order from an ex. I have like very weird previous relationships that were very toxic and unhealthy. And so I don't know exactly how I went from that to then being with Jens. It may also be because that Scorpio intensity of it has been intense for me being in a relationship with Jens, not because there's anything wrong with the relationship, but it catapulted me to move to a different country, to have my Saturn return, in a different country, and all these really intense things I've had to go through, deciding like, yes, I am going to commit to this person, even if that means having to leave Canada, couldn't travel back because of the mandates, all these really intense things that I think were maybe part of the healing work. And I hope I'm making sense, but I do think that it is different for Scorpios. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
It does make sense a lot because Scorpio is related to crises. So usually you guys are put right in the fire in order to transmute a lot of darkness. So it makes a lot of sense that it's not doing like rituals outside singing necessarily. Maybe it's an added bonus to what you're doing, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're being confronting like the darkness directly usually.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you for that, Meg. And also, I just wanted to share here, if you'd like to join our Astrology Foundations course, we're going to get really deep about the 12 zodiac signs. We're going to be live each week, every Friday with this course. And there's still 2 days to get the 15% off discount with the Astrology Foundations course. So that's Astro 15 until October 12th. So if you'd like to join us, please do so. That's on beyondmystic.academy. And we'll start this Friday. So in 3 days from now, we're going to start about all of the archetypes. So we're going to get really deep with a lot of also personal experience for our personal experiences, but also the people we know around us. So I think there's a lot of wisdom to share surrounding that. So if you'd like to join us, you still have 2 days to get the discount code. Okay, Meg, I think I have some questions for you and the cards.
Okay.
So I feel like there were a lot of hijacking the concept of twin flames and soulmate, especially in the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years, maybe. So first, I'd like to know your opinion on that. Like, do you think there's a reason why those concepts were kind of skewed a little bit? And maybe get the cards also to answer if you'd like to.
Yeah. So I definitely think it's one of those programs that's been put into the new age or spirituality for sure to kind of take us out of our own empowerment and our own independence because it's going outside of ourselves, which is the shadow side of Libra. Being outside of ourselves where we have no identity, right? That's Aries, the opposite sign to Libra. So not saying that all Libras are like that, not being mean to you guys, just saying that's the shadow side of Libra when it's totally about the other person or the need to be in a relationship to have happiness, when actually, no, we are just fine on our own. We need to be happy with ourselves and love ourselves first and foremost. So I think there's definitely been a program put into our spiritual community that you have to be with someone. And we were talking earlier, Julie, and I don't know if you brought this point up, like how people stay in relationships that are actually toxic because it's my twin flame.
Yeah.
It's okay because he's hitting me, or that he's an alcoholic, or this because he's my twin flame.
Right.
This is just what we do. It's like, actually, no. You deserve better than that. We all deserve better than that. Right? So I really resonate with like the Huna ancient Hawaiian principles of living, which I talk about a lot in the videos, or if anyone's ever done a consultation with me, I usually bring it up. There's 7 principles of living, and one of them is now is the moment of power. And so if in the now moment there is a toxic situation, it doesn't matter whether they're your twin flame, your soulmate, it doesn't matter what the heck they are, that doesn't serve you, because none of us deserve abuse or manipulation or toxicity. So I really like to try to live my life in that way of in the present moment now, what is going on, and making my decisions based off of that. So that's something that I would invite anyone who's maybe in a relationship now, and we've got this fly flying around here again that we had last time. Anyone who's in a relationship right now that is unsure, look at the present moment. Don't think about what has been. Don't think about too far in the future. What is going on in the present moment, and make your decisions based off of that, because the present moment is our power moment. Okay, so pulling cards on. Wow. Okay. There has definitely been an implant into the spiritual community around twin flames.
Whoa.
We got the debilitated card and the 8th house of Scorpio card. So, I mean, the 8th house means a lot of things, but right off the bat with the debilitated card, I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling like that's manipulation and dark arts. And earlier I was being in my Scorpio investigativeness, and I wanted to know, what's the origin of twin flames?
Right.
Like, what even is that? Where does that even come from? And it's not totally known what is the true origin, but the earliest recording of, the word twin flame comes from ancient Greeks, from, sorry, you guys, I think it's Plato, but I might be butchering that. It's a certain philosopher that talked about how when God created man, originally, man had 4 legs and 2 heads and 4 arms. So it's actually like 2 souls, being born together, AKA twin flames. So it does have origin in ancient Greece, but I feel like also with these cards, the clarity around what the heck even is a true twin flame really is going to be coming up soon. Maybe that's part of this new moon eclipse in Libra.
I think that makes sense. Wow. Okay. I love that. And I have a subsequent question for you before I switch to asking the same question to Jans.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we all know also that according to your own birth chart and what kind of zodiac signs are really strong, or maybe the houses in your own birth chart, then you're going to have a different path of evolution, of spiritual evolution. And some of those paths, I believe, are more, let's say, directed towards being single and needing to find who you are as an individual. And some of those paths are, let's say, more oriented towards being in relationship with other people. So do you think, Meg, there are some signs that are more, let's say, geared toward evolution in relationships, and some other signs as being single and solo?
Definitely, for sure. So if somebody has their North Node in Libra or Scorpio, in particular, in those signs, or in the 7th house of Libra or 8th house of Scorpio, you're definitely here in this lifetime to be merging with others, to be in relationship. Not that that's the number one important thing in life, but that is a really big part in the life. And I'd like to hear what you think as well, Julie, but I feel like even if people have, you know, their North Node or important placements in Aries, for example, which rules self and independence, I think that they still can have beautiful, committed relationships. But the most important thing about the North Node, I think, is that we embrace it on the personal level for ourselves first.
Yeah.
So that we're in our independence, we're in our self-empowerment, so that we can then have a relationship outwards.
Totally. That makes a lot of sense. And I just thought about a couple of people that I know who have the South Node in Libra or in the 7th house, which is kind of similar. And they feel like they're obsessed with being in a relationship, but somehow like the universe seems to not want to give it to them. So they feel very frustrated and fixated around this idea of like, I need to be in a relationship. I need to find my soulmate twin flame. But the universe is pushing you on the other way around, like, as you said, to really find out who you are as an individual. And then the relationship can come in, but you have a lot of work to do on your own before getting there. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Meg.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything to that before I ask another question?
No, I
Okay.
don't think so.
Perfect. Okay, so I want to ask the same question as we did earlier with Jan's. What's your feeling about why the twin flame soulmate subject has been hijacked in the community? And how do you feel like it let's say, it fits in the age of Aquarius, like relationship as a whole? So why do you think it's important now? And like, why do you think this subject is being hijacked by the dark forces?
You know what I feel? It's just at the top of my head, is to keep us out of the moment, actually. Because if you're so like, you have this idealized idea of a relationship, like you have to meet your twin flame and everything needs to be perfect. And it actually plays into this, the psychological or subconscious mechanism of trying to fill a void in yourself. So instead of doing the inner work, is, you know, taking something external and trying to fill your trauma or your void with something external, and that will never work. So that might be a trap right there, because you're going to keep looking to the external world to, you know, to fill to try to fill that void that's created by trauma. And then you will skip the inner work, so to speak, because you're so focused on the external. And that's what they try to do always, you know, in other areas in life. They make us so focused on the external and on distractions and on what's happening in the world, and divide and conquer. You have to choose a side. Is always so focused on the external, so we don't, you know, we connect less with our soul. We don't connect with our soul as much. And I feel twin flame concept might come into that, because, you know, especially for people who are new into spirituality, you know, everything is new. Everything is it's very you know, exciting. And, you know, when you come across this conflict of a twin flame and people are like, oh my God, he's my twin flame. You see it, for example, in cults, you know, certain cults where they have this idealized version of the guru. And actually what these people, it's just a mechanism inside of self. They see the guru as this great light, and they forget their own light. And I think that might be the trap right there with twin flame. It's actually like a bit of a conceptualized version of a guru or something, if you could call it that. So yeah, I think Meg was spot on with that. definitely might be another, you know, subtle or not so subtle distraction.
Right. And it's also, it makes a lot of sense what you both are saying. And also, it's like banking on the fact that we have this profound need to be in union with, let's say, our own feminine, masculine, inner divine feminine, and inner divine masculine. But also, when that is done, we also feel the need to reunite with a soulmate. So, but that I feel is a more, let's say, it, not just a biological need, but also a spiritual need. Let's say uniting your own divine feminine energy with your divine masculine energy inside, and also having that also happen on the outside. Like, what's your how do you view that in your opinion?
Yeah, I think, you know, I think divine feminine or divine masculine energies are not limited to feminine or to males or females, you know. Everybody has like a certain portion of feminine and female energies into them, which, and a man can be a real man and still have, you know, feminine sensibilities and feminine, you know, an affinity with the feminine energies. That doesn't make him gay or something, or
Yeah.
female. It's just every soul has this interplay going on. And yeah, and I think, you know, in relationship, you kind of, you know, it's also depends on the moment. You know, a relationship is dynamic and it's never static. Sometimes, you know, usually the man takes the lead, and that's, you know, these days, you know, everybody wants to change everything, and you know, with these woke ideas, and you know, want to make male and females the same, which, you know, which is transhumanism also. They want to kind of destroy that holiness. But I think it's good if a man leads and takes charge, but it doesn't mean that a woman can't take charge every once in a while, of course. And that's the balance, is just, you know, being, you know, not fixed and stuck in your ways about male or female, divine masculine, and you know, respecting both sides in yourself, I think.
That's a great answer. And also, like, I don't know what you think, Jans, but like Aquarius as an archetype, as we're moving into the age of Aquarius, I kind of see it as more like the reunion of within of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, as opposed to some people saying like, oh, it's been the patriarchy for so long, now it's the women that are about to run the world. So how do you view that? And also, how do you think relationships might evolve in this coming age of Aquarius?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I think you're spot on with what you're saying. Is like, you know, I think we had, like, if you look at the bigger movements in consciousness of Earth, there's like a lot of some authors are talking about like Atlantis, which was like super masculine, which is a bit the same as we have now, and now the divine feminine is coming up again. And then you had certain periods in Lemuria where it was more a matriarchal society, where there's actually more you know, the balance was shifting more towards matriarchal stuff. So Atlantis was actually, you know, the karmic effect of Atlantis was that the pendulum swung the other way. So they went from matriarchy to patriarchy, which was, and we're still in that a bit. And like, as they say, we're now like you say, we're consolidating these two energies. It's coming back, and we're bringing them back into balance. Now, for Aquarius, if I give my personal opinion, also what relationships is I think we're going to see a lot of very experimental relationships also, and new forms of relationships. Which doesn't mean, you know, the traditional. I like the traditional. You could say I'm a traditionalist for my own life when it comes to relationships. But I think it's also going to be like, you know, really people going to experiment a lot, I think, in relationships, because it's Aquarius. It's, you know, pushing the boundaries. It's new. It's bringing in new stuff. Which you know, if you resonate with that and you respect the other person, which is fine for me. So I think we're going to see a lot of breaking of patterns too, I think.
That's a great point, Jans. I'd like to hear, Meg, how do you view this coming age of Aquarius as it regards to relationships?
Yeah, so I agree with Jens that I think relationships, some will get very experimental, even weirder than we've maybe already seen certain ways of doing relationships have been.
Yeah.
And I do feel like just visions that I'm getting as we're talking about this is relationships being a part of the community whole again. and like relationships on relationships, people's love relationships, being a part of the local community, and us supporting each other in our relationships in our local community, because our way that we used to live was more tribal and communal. And that was something that was taken away from us with, you know, the dark arts people, will say, the bad guys. And I think that's one of the biggest issues on the planet right now, is we're not in that communal living anymore, where we had beautiful families and beautiful relationships. And it would be easier for people to call us out because we lived more, you know, closer with each other. Not that I think we have to live in teepees or tents beside each other or something like that, but we were more in each other's lives in a community setting. So it was easier to call out, you know, hey, Julie, I'm noticing this about your relationship. Do you want to talk about it? Do you think that's a red flag? Do you want me to stop talking? It was easier because the community was more involved as a whole for us to see what were healthy relationships and healthy family dynamics. So I think that's going to be a big part of this age of Aquarius we're coming into, is community living while being in the relationship, and there being some sort of role of each of the love relationship in the community.
Interesting. I love that outtake. And Tim is saying here, could it be relationships with ETs? Well, interestingly enough, that's also part of the Aquarius archetype. So Aquarius rules divorce, kind of relationships that's outside the norms, even like same-sex relationship. A lot of people are also talking about falling in love with AI or having relationship with AI. So that's also something like that I find personally very sad, but that could be very true because of the the archetype of Aquarius. But also, yes, relationship with ETs. So relationships that feel different, and then that are with I was going to say people. Yeah, I guess we could define them as people that are very different, outside the norms, outside what we call our normal, could be Aquarian. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, and I think I have a question for the card, Meg, if you allow me.
Yes.
What do the cards want us to know about, let's say, the evolution of the relationships in the age of Aquarius?
Wow, that's a good question.
Very curious about that.
Okay. Okay, interesting. So I knew we were going to get this card. For some reason, I knew we were going to get that. And we got this one again, too. This has come up twice, the 8th house. So it is massively transforming and going through a death and a rebirth. And before I pulled the cards, I was feeling intuitively like a part of us in the age of Aquarius with relationships as well is like experimentation. And we're going to be in kind of this phase while Pluto is in Aquarius of experimentation of what works for the new age. Not that everybody has to be doing the exact same thing, but it's interesting in astrology, Pluto is at fall position in Aquarius. And that's debated. Some astrologers don't resonate with that. I feel like that resonates with me. Because Pluto is at home at Scorpio and exalted in Leo. So if Pluto is at fall in Aquarius, and Aquarius rules experimentation and like really weird ways of doing relationships, maybe we have to go through that experimentation phase, not because it's wrong, but to get to a place where we see what real healthy relationships and communal living are. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it'll be, a lot of things will just come up with Pluto, which is the ruler of the 8th house in Aquarius, that might not be super long lasting. And you asked, how might it change? This is interesting because Gemini is like friendship and courtship and even flirting, relationships becoming more fun and light and enjoyable. Gemini is a very enjoyable, social, fun, light, friendly sign. So I think we're coming into a place. I also got the moon card. There's going to be more emotional fulfillment and fun had in relationships, but we're going to go through a really big transformation. We're all going through that.
Whoa. Okay. That makes sense. Thank you, Meg. I love that. And I'd like to ask you both another one last question for my questions at least. Okay, so let's say in the community, in the spiritual community, there are some labels that define a few relationships. We talked about twin flames. There are also, let's say, soulmates as being another label, and another one would be karmic relationship. And some people differentiate. I always struggle to pronounce that word. Differentiate soulmates from the karmic relationships, and they say if you are, let's say, in a relationship that bring a lot of trauma or shadows into, let's say, your field of consciousness, then it might not last. And sometimes it's more of a karmic partner and you need to rebalance something from past lifetimes. And they are not necessarily a long-term partner for you because it's coming here for healing. And I'm just like repeating what I've heard a lot. And on the other side, they're talking about soulmates as being more of a like in the flow, peaceful relationship. And of course, you're doing some healing there, but it's less traumatic. So that's kind of a lot of what I heard. A lot of people in the community. I'd like to know first, Jans, do you agree with that? Do you believe we're all soulmates and all karmic partners, or do you have, let's say, different labels for that?
I think it depends on the, on the intensity of the karmic, stuff happening between you. I think some relationships and, at a higher level, like we with our daily ego consciousness, we don't know and we can't look into the future, but, our higher consciousness is a higher overview. And I think you can have some persons that you can call soulmates, which come into our lives only, for example, for a relationship of 1 year to work out some stuff. And of course, on the personal level, that may be very, very trying and heartbreaking. But that's sometimes how it goes, And when the karmic charge is diffused, the relationships just dissolve, and that's it. And you might have had past lives with that person, and you might be in another life. You might have been longer with that person, but I think the kind of soulmate that's like really considered positive is where there's less karmic baggage, and where the positive, the balance goes way more to the positive.
Mm-hmm.
I think any relationship with past lives can be a little bit karmic because there's always past life stuff happening. And if we could see our past life history, it's so vast. There's always stuff happening. So I think what these people want to say is that soulmate relationships are more the positive relationship where there's a lot of karma is cleared, or where there's just there's of course a great rapport, and there is not this discharge of karma between the two people, in my opinion.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I resonate with that, Jans, a lot. And Ben is saying, yeah, I love that. A soulmate to me feels like a dance. So let's say a lighter baggage or more positive baggage that you're bringing. Meg, do you also agree with that? Like, how do you feel about a soulmate as opposed to a karmic partner? Or an additional question here that I just thought about. Do you think we all have past lives together? Like, let's say you meet someone new. Do you feel like it's possible to meet someone that you have absolutely no past lives together? Or do you feel like most people you come in contact with are because you have past lives together?
Wow, that is a trippy question. That's a really good question. So the first part of that question, yes, I think soulmates, it's lighter and it's healthier just in the vibration and the tone of the relationship. I notice all the time with karmic relationships, they don't make sense. So when you hear someone talking about, for example, people that are in our community that are like-minded, but you're so attracted to someone that's like completely of a different value. Maybe they went with the whole shebang of the last 3 years, but you feel this intense attraction. It's like, maybe that's something karmic that you want to look at, because in common sense, it doesn't really make sense.
Right.
So I notice that with karmic relationships a lot, they just don't make sense. And it's that karmic energetic tie that we have usually from the sacral chakra or the root chakra towards someone that makes us feel like so magnetized to them. It's like uncontrollable, that we can mistake for a soulmate relationship. Kind of like what I was saying earlier with the Plutonic relationship theory that Jewel, the astrologer, had, that really resonated with me. So I think it's a very different tone. I think with genuine soulmates, not that any relationship is perfect. Jens and I have had challenges in our relationship. It's, not easy being from two different countries. Every relationship has its challenge, but there's not toxicity. There's not total difference of values and ourselves and our identities. When there's things like that going on that are not in alignment, I think it's very karmic, and it's important to do some past life work, some sort of healing work around those karmic scenarios. And then you were asking about, has everyone we met been someone that's something that I think about a lot when I'm in public, like looking at people. Have I known all these people in past lives before? But I feel like, no, I feel like a lot of the people we've had personal relationships with, we've probably known before. I think similar souls cycle with each other. But random people, we just walk by. I don't think we've had past lives with all of them, because I think there's different soul groups and incarnational groups of people. But I do think I think we would be surprised at how many people we've had past lives with that we know.
Definitely.
Lovers, friends, family, people we work with. I really do feel that for sure.
I love that. And Jans, how do you feel about the same question? Like, do you think most people that we interact with, we have past lives with? Do you think it's possible to meet someone that we have a blank state with, no past lives? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel kind of the same as Meg. I think most of our, especially long-term relationship, whether it be friends, family, lovers, are absolutely we know from past lives, because there is that connection. And indeed, I think you might make new friends, but then again, there's this question in my mind: if there is no time, and on a bigger level, everything has happened in the so-called in the time loop, so to speak, because from our higher dimensional perspective, they can see all of time. So how is it possible to meet somebody new if you were not already had a connection with them? It's kind of trippy to think about, but my mind goes there. So yeah, I think most of the major relationships in our lives, especially family, are our past life, soulmates, karmic relationships, the whole thing, actually. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. Okay, we have 2 questions that I'd like to answer before we go. So first one, Meg, I'd like to know your take on it, and I will also add mine. So Rebecca, thank you so much, Rebecca. Hello, Jans, Meg, and Julie. Do you think we will ever go to 13 signs? Okay, and I'd like you first, Meg, to answer this question, and then I'll ask the same to Jans, because I'd like to know about 12 zodiac signs versus 13 in, let's say, numerology, what you think about that. So will we ever go to 13 sign? If so, how will that affect how we've thought our current sign and birth chart? Okay, first of all, Meg, the floor is yours.
So, okay, in Western astrology, will we ever go to 13 signs? Personally, I feel like no, not the way things are right now, because they're pretty set and they've been that way for thousands of years. And it's a very intricate, detailed system of doing things. But sometimes, and I'm not saying you're thinking this, Rebecca, I'm not projecting this on you, but just saying in general, we have the 13 moon calendar, okay? Then we have the tropical Western astrology 12 sign calendar. So sometimes people get confused like that. Shouldn't there be 12 signs or 13 signs? We've got a 13 moon calendar where we've got 13 different moons, and the Mayans and the shamanic societies really go into that. But in terms of Western astrology, I don't think we'll be going into 13 signs, because from our Earth's perspective, we've got a pretty clear 12 constellations that we work with. So that's what I'm feeling about that.
Yeah, and when I looked into it, I saw that only the foot of Ophiuchus, which is supposed to be the 13th constellation, passes through the ecliptic. So it's really like a really tiny portion of this constellation. And like constellations are man-made group of stars. So let's just remember that, like they are archetypal beings, but we decided to associate those stars together. So it's not like a divine kind of I don't know how to say that. Jans, what's your intuitive feeling on 12 signs, 13 sign? Because I know the number 13 is also quite big in let's say the dark arts also. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I've heard about. I not that well versed into astrology, but I've heard about. I think it's called Ophiuchus or Ophiuchus, the 13th sign. And honestly, I don't feel it's that kind of a big deal. But that's just my personal feeling and opinion, because I feel like astrology works really well. I've seen it with Meg, and I've seen it also in my own life when Meg shows me stuff. And I don't think the addition of a 13th sign would make that much of a difference or an impact, because I think I would be I'm not sure, but maybe Mick has to check it. I think I would be of focus because I'm a Sagittarius, and then I think I would be, and I've looked at it years ago, and I didn't really resonate with it for me personally. I resonated with Sagittarius. Basically it feels like it's just an extension of Sagittarius or focus, so I'm not really resonating with it actually.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And Mike. I feel like we're gonna change the archetypes when we're gonna discover new planets, and I think like we're just on the brink of that. So that might be also another way we're gonna change the way we view astrology. Go ahead, Meg.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I feel like too that the dark arts people are trying anything they can to discredit Western astrology because they're using it for themselves and they don't want us to use it. And I feel like this whole thing with Ophiuchus or whatever the heck you call it, I think that was all just created to try to throw off Western astrology.
Yeah, this is my intuitive feeling as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca, for that great question. And okay, right before, did I have something else to... Okay, I'm looking at the comments in the chat to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, we have a last question from James. Thank you so much, James. The real question is, will we be invited to the wedding? So maybe, I love that. Thanks for all you do in bringing new views to us. We'll be looking forward to updates on the book. Sorry, I kind of stopped caffeine, so my brain is going really slow. Because like I feel like the energies are so high right now, and I had a lot of trouble to sleep. So my goal for the week is to stop caffeine. So I might be a little slow when I'm talking, and my brain is going slow. Okay, so big question. I'm gonna put Jans on the spot here. Are we gonna be, let's say, witness of a wedding soon?
Yeah, we have plans. There's of course the legal aspect, and there's the party, but it will happen in the future. It will definitely happen in the quite near future. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And yeah, I think that will be a beautiful ceremony for sure. So right before we go, I forgot to say at the beginning, but of course, if you have more personal questions, you'd like to get a one-on-one consultation with Meg, you have either the birth chart reading, where she looks at your own cosmic blueprint and tell you all about what your birth chart rules, which is a lot of sacred stuff. And the other one will be the 1 year personal forecast using your astrological transits. So she looks at your birth chart, but with the transits for 1 year ahead. So what kind of energies are going to come at play for you specifically? What houses are going to get activated, let's say, by the eclipses? So we have one eclipse season now, but we're also going to have another one early next year. And right now, Meg, where are you with your appointments? When's the earliest opening?
The earliest opening right now is the end of November, and it's soon to be beginning of December. So
okay. Well, that's not too far. So really good news. If you'd like to get, let's say, an appointment before the holidays, you can do so on maisonjupiter.com. And don't forget to enter Beyond Mystic in one word for 10% off your next reading. And of course, as I said earlier, you can find Jans right here on his Facebook, where he shares a lot of stuff, and also on his Instagram. So take a screenshot if you'd like to follow also Jans. And also, we have, of course, this wonderful course. And don't forget, we still have a 15% off discount code. That's Astro15 until October 12th. So if you'd like to join us right here on this very special adventure. So you're getting the course, of course, access to the community with a lot of like-minded individuals, and also the tarot and astrology workshop, which is included for free in this package. And we have already uploaded the courses, the pre-recorded classes for module 1, 2, and 3. And now we're just about to start module 4, which is going to be the 12 archetypes of the zodiac. That's going to be really fun. We're going to get through all of the planets, north node, south node, each of the 12 zodiac signs and everything that they rule in astrology. So that's going to be starting this Friday. So did I forget anything, Meg, that you'd like to add to the Astro course?
You said it perfectly. I think you've described everything, and we're very, very excited to get started on Friday with the live classes. So like Julie's saying, if you want to be a part of the live classes, make sure you sign up before Friday, because that's going to be really fun to be with everyone together live.
Yeah, so if you'd like to have the coupon code working, it's before Thursday at midnight Eastern time. So if you're in different time zones, just make sure that you're not passing by this 15% off discount. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Going to order the course tomorrow. And Britt is saying, what an awesome show. Thank you three so much. This was an awesome conversation. And thank you so much, Jans, for being a part of this trio and having our divine masculine with us. Thank you so much. Very, very appreciated. And thank you, of course, Meg, as well, because you always bring some beautiful wisdom to the show.
It was great. I enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. So we'll invite you back. Thank you so much, Jans, with a great conversation, and love talking about a lot of different topics with you. So that was the Divine Feminine Oracle show for tonight, and see you very soon. Tomorrow, as will be, I don't have the slide here, but we'll be having our Astro Decode, your Sun, Moon, and Rising trilogy, and we'll take a lot of questions from the public. So that's going to be a fun show. That's tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. So see you there, everybody, and have a good rest of your evening. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.